Welcome to today's story, Serenade of the Unseen Lovers, generated by StoryWave.ai, March 2024. Please tap that like button, share, and subscribe for more. Chapter 1, Whispers in the Mist. The forest breathed a haunting lullaby as I treaded its silvered paths, the aftermath of battle still thrumming through my veins. My name is Leif, and I am a warrior born from the cold womb of the north, where tales of sirens and their deadly songs were as common as the steel we bore. Yet, as the melody danced through the trees, wrapping around my heart like the fingers of a long-lost lover, I could not resist its call. It was a voice that promised solace, a balm for the soul of a man who had seen too much blood spilled under the moon's indifferent gaze. I had been told of creatures whose beauty was matched only by their capacity for destruction, but as I ventured deeper into the heart of the woods, driven by an insatiable yearning to find the source of that ethereal voice, my warrior's instinct waned, replaced by a fascination I could neither understand nor deny. The mist caressed my skin, cool and gentle, as if the very air sought to soothe the storm within me. It was then that I saw her, a vision amidst the veils of fog, Elina, with hair the color of moonlit snow and eyes like the tumultuous sea. She was perched upon a rock, the embodiment of the siren songs that had haunted sailors' dreams, yet there was a warmth in her gaze that no chilling tale had ever mentioned. Eli, I found myself whispering, her nickname slipping from my lips as though it belonged there. She tilted her head, a smile gracing her lips, as if she knew the conflict that raged within me. You should not be here, Leif the silent voyager. Men of your kind and mine are not meant to meet. I stepped closer, the distance between us charged with an energy I had only ever felt in the heat of battle. And yet here we are, I said, my voice a mix of defiance and wonder. Her laughter was like the chime of glass, and it stirred something primal within me. Destiny is not a path that can be avoided, it seems. As the melody of her voice wrapped around us, an ancient prophecy spilled from her lips, a tale of two souls bound across time, a dance of desire that would weave our fates together. I listened, entranced, as she spoke of a love that could bridge the divide between her ethereal realm and my earthly existence. But how? I questioned, my heart racing with the implications of her words. How can a warrior and a siren share more than a fleeting dream? Elina rose, her movements like that of the swan she was kin to, and stepped closer. The how is a journey we must embark upon together. Do you dare to dance with me, Leif, and challenge the world's expectations? Torn between the tales of old and the longing that surged through my very soul, I knew that my life was no longer my own. It belonged to the melody that had ensnared me, to the siren who stood before me, and to the whispering mists that had become the stage for our unfolding serenade. So I took her hand, the touch igniting a fire within, and with the forest as our witness, we began the dance of desire. The prophecy had been set in motion, and our story, a story of unseen lovers, had just begun. Chapter 2, Moonlit Rendezvous. The moon hung like a guardian in the ink-stained sky, its silver light a silent accomplice to the night's clandestine affair. My feet knew the secret paths through the woods, paths that twisted and turned, leading me to Eli. The anticipation of our meeting sent an unfamiliar thrill through my being, a warrior accustomed to the adrenaline of combat, now captive to the allure of a siren's call. As I neared our agreed haven, I could see her silhouette, bathed in the lunar glow. Elina's presence was a guidepost in the darkness, a flame to my moth-like fascination. I approached her with a mix of reverence and desire, the pull of her otherworldly charm rendering my usual stoicism as nothing more than a distant memory. Leif, she greeted me, her voice a whisper that seemed to harmonize with the very wind. Eli, I returned the greeting, allowing myself a moment to drink in her visage. The night is ours once more. She nodded, her sea-green eyes shimmering with a depth that both enticed and unnerved me. Come, let me show you the wonders of my world. As we delved deeper into the heart of her realm, she revealed secrets that no human eyes had ever beheld. The forest came alive with an arcane energy, the flora radiating an ethereal luminescence that mirrored the glow of Elina's skin. It was as if the very earth sang in her presence, a symphony of nature that was both mesmerizing and humbling. I found myself entranced by the magic that wove through her words as she described the ancient bond her kind shared with the earth. "Our roots run as deep as the oldest trees, and our songs as ancient as the stars themselves," she explained, her hands gesturing to the life that thrummed around us. Our steps synchronized, we danced amidst the moonlit grove, her laughter the most enchanting melody I had ever heard. Yet beneath the euphoria, a coil of tension wound tight within me. With each passing night, the truth of our forbidden trysts weighed heavier upon my conscience. My kin, my clan, they would not understand this yearning, this magnetic draw I felt towards Elina. "Do your people never seek to understand those who are different?" I asked, voicing the conflict that clawed at my insides. She stopped, her gaze meeting mine. "Understanding is a gift, Leif. One that is often buried beneath fear and tradition." Her words stung with truth. The life I had known, the rigid structure of warrior and clansman, seemed a world away when I was with her. And yet, it was a world that would demand answers should my nightly absences become known. Eli must have sensed my inner turmoil, for she reached out, her touch gentle upon my arm. The heart wants what it wants, and it cares little for the rules imposed by others. I looked at her, the moon casting her in an otherworldly radiance, and I knew that my heart had spoken. It whispered her name with each beat, a rhythm I could no longer ignore. Our conversations continued, long into the night, each word, each shared secret, binding us closer. The dance of desire that had begun with a siren's song now became a dance of two souls, moving together through the shadows, chasing a love that defied the very fabric of our worlds. As dawn threatened to paint the sky, I reluctantly pulled away from her embrace, the promise of another moonlit rendezvous the only balm to the ache of parting. As I retraced my steps back to the realm of man, the echo of our laughter and the memory of her touch were the treasured spoils of a warrior who had ventured into the unknown and found something far more precious than any conquest. The dance was far from over, and I knew that with each step, with each stolen night, I was spiraling further into a tale that would either be my making or my undoing. Chapter 3: Echoes of Desire. The night draped over the village like a cloak, heavy and silent, save for the distant crash of waves against the shore. In the shelter of darkness, I, Leif, found myself drawn once more to the forest's edge, where the world of man blurred into the realm of enchantment. The echo of Eli's song, a melody woven into the very fiber of my being, pulled me forward with a yearning that had become as vital as the air in my lungs. I pushed through the underbrush, the bracken whispering secrets beneath my boots, until the familiar glade bathed in moonlight opened before me. There, like a vision conjured from the very mist, stood Elina, her pearlescent hair cascading over her shoulders, her gaze an anchor in the tempest of my soul. "Eli," I greeted, my voice barely above a hush, yet in the silence of the glade it sounded like a proclamation. She turned, her sea-green eyes reflecting the moon's glow, and a smile that could outshine the dawn spread across her features. "Leif," she replied, and the simple utterance of my name from her lips was like a key unlocking something primal within me. We stood for a moment, the space between us charged with the electricity of unspoken words and unfulfilled desires. It was she who closed the distance, her movements as fluid and mesmerizing as the gentle tide. "I feel the echo of your song in every part of me," I confessed, the words spilling from a place of raw honesty. "It's a call that I cannot, will not silence." Her hands found mine, her touch both fire and solace, and I feel the echo of your spirit, Leif. It resonates with mine in a way that defies explanation. The world around us seemed to pause, the forest holding its breath as we stood on the precipice of a decision that would seal our intertwined destinies. In that moment, there was no thought of consequence, no consideration for the morrow. There was only Eli and I, and the magnetic pull that drew us together. Our embrace was inevitable, as natural as the cycles of the moon above. The passion that had simmered beneath the surface of our encounters now burst forth, a conflagration that consumed all doubt and reason. We were two halves of a whole, the siren and the warrior, united by a bond that transcended the barriers of our existences. But with the dawn came the whisper of reality, the reminder that our worlds remained as distant as the stars above. Reluctantly, we untangled from each other's arms, the promise of another night the only solace to the chill of parting. As I returned to the village, the first rays of sunlight painting the horizon, I felt the weight of suspicion in the eyes that followed my path. Halldor, a rival whose envy was as sharp as his blade, watched me with an intensity that spoke of questions and accusations unvoiced. "Where do your feet wander in the dead of night, Leif?" Halldor's voice broke the morning's tranquility, a challenge laid bare. I met his gaze, a practiced calm settling over my features. "A warrior seeks many things in the quiet of solitude, Halldor. Answers, peace, or perhaps just the embrace of the night." His eyes narrowed, searching for the truth I could not afford to reveal. "Take care, Leif. The night is full of shadows, and some hold secrets better left undiscovered." I nodded, a silent acknowledgement of his words, though the echo of desire that resonated within me sang a different tune. As I walked away, the image of Elina's smile, the feel of her embrace, fortified my resolve. The dance of desire that had ensnared us both was far from its final bow, and I knew that no matter the suspicions of men like Halldor, I would follow its melody wherever it might lead. For in the echoes of Eli's song, I had found a purpose beyond the sword and shield, a purpose that promised a love as vast and uncharted as the sea itself. Chapter 4: Harmony of Hearts. The stars twinkled like distant lanterns, their celestial light a silent witness to the dreams that unfurled between Eli and me. We lay side by side in the embrace of the grassy knoll, our hands entwined as we spoke of a world where the shadow of peril no longer darkened our love. It could be a place of unity, where the song of my kindred intertwines with the valor of yours, Elina mused, her gaze fixed upon the heavens. I nodded, the vision taking root in my mind. A land where our offspring would know neither the ire of the sea nor the wrath of the sword, but only the peace of the meadow. Her laughter, light and clear, mingled with the rustling of the leaves. "You dream as boldly as you battle, Leif." As the night deepened, our conversation grew more profound, our hearts weaving a tapestry of hope and determination. Yet the harmony of our dreams was soon pierced by a dissonant note, the arrival of Elina's siren sisters, their visages stern and ethereal in the moonlight. "Eli," one called, her tone carrying the weight of the ocean's depths, "you tread upon a path lined with thorns. The love of a mortal is a perilous venture." Elina sat up, her expression resolute. "Sisters, my heart has chosen its course. I cannot, will not, deny its beating." The sisters exchanged glances, their eyes like the ebbing tide, filled with sorrow and foreboding. "Then know this," another spoke, "the waters of fate are not easily swayed, and the cost may be greater than you can bear." Their warning hung in the air like a sea mist, chilling and opaque, before they vanished as swiftly as they had appeared. Elina's hand tightened around mine, a silent pledge that no caution could quell the fire that blazed between us. As dawn approached, we sought the counsel of an old seer, whose wisdom was said to eclipse even the knowledge of the ages. The seer, cloaked in the garb of whispers and shadows, peered into the embers of a dying fire, her voice a thread weaving the future. "Two hearts in harmony, yet the melody they seek to play will invite a storm," she intoned, her words falling like rain upon our spirits. "Your union will be a balefire, a challenge to the order of things. It will bring both illumination and destruction." I felt Elina shiver beside me, her strength unwavering despite the ominous forecast. "Then let the storm come," she declared with quiet defiance. "We will stand against it together." The seer regarded us with eyes that had witnessed the turning of centuries. "So be it," she whispered, "but remember, the strongest trees are those that bend with the wind." With her cryptic blessing, we left her dwelling, the first rays of sun casting long shadows upon the path before us. The words of Elina's sisters and the seer's prophecy could not deter the course of our hearts. We had vowed to bridge our worlds, to defy the fate that sought to keep us apart. As I escorted Elina back to the safety of her siren realm, the backbone in our clasped hands spoke of a promise that transcended fear. We would face whatever trials lay ahead, for the harmony of our hearts could not be undone by mere warnings or foretold consequences. The dance of desire that had drawn us into its rhythm now propelled us forward, a duet of determination and love that would challenge the very fabric of our beings. And as I returned to the realm of man, the echo of our pledge resonated within me, a steadfast drumbeat against the unfolding day. Chapter 5: Tears of the Moon. A shimmering drop fell from the heavens, igniting the night with a silver glow that seemed to whisper of ancient magic. The forest held its breath as I, Leif, stood hand in hand with Elina beneath the celestial cascade, our eyes fixed upon the rare marvel that was the tears of the moon. The event was said to reveal truths as old as the stars themselves, and as the luminous droplets descended, my heart thrummed with a mix of anticipation and dread. "Eli," I murmured, my gaze never leaving the spectacle above. The elders speak of this event with both reverence and fear. Her fingers tightened around mine, her presence a steadfast anchor amidst the tide of uncertainty. "Then let us be reverent, Leif, and brave, for whatever may come." The tears of the moon bathed us in their radiant light, and in their glow, visions began to coalesce. Images of our intertwined futures flashed before us, a tapestry of love and loss, of battles fought and peace sought. The visions were a mosaic of what could be, each more poignant and vivid than the last. "This is our path," Elina said, her voice a steady chime against the storm of possibilities. "It is fraught with peril, but it is ours to walk." I nodded, the steadfastness in her words bolstering my own. Yet as the final tear fell from the sky, a grim revelation cast its shadow upon our hearts. It was a truth that cleaved through our dreams with the cold precision of a blade, the knowledge that our union would birth a tempest that could rend the very fabric of our worlds. The weight of the revelation pressed down upon us, a burden that tested the strength of our bond. "Can love truly weather such a storm, Eli?" I asked, the question a splinter in my warrior's heart. Her eyes, evergreen pools reflecting the moon's sorrow, met mine. "Love is the fiercest force we wield, Leif. If any power can overcome this tempest, it is the power of our hearts united." As the moon's tears ceased and the night reclaimed its dominion, we stood in silent communion, our love a beacon against the looming darkness. But the peace of the glade was shattered by a rustling from the underbrush, the sound of secrets being unearthed. Halldor emerged from the shadows, his face a mask of triumph and malice. "So this is where you vanished to, Leif. And what's this? A siren?" His voice, laden with accusation, sliced through the sanctity of our refuge. My hand instinctively reached for the hilt of my sword, but Elina's gentle touch stilled my impulse. "There is no need for bloodshed," she stated, her tone commanding yet calm. "We harbor no ill will, Halldor." The rival Viking's eyes narrowed, calculating as he regarded us both. "Ill will or no, you harbor a secret that could unravel the threads of our clan, Leif." The truth of his words stung, for the fabric of our kinship was indeed at risk. Yet the love that had brought me to this glade, to Elina's side, was a truth I could no longer deny, even in the face of Halldor's veiled threats. "We seek only to weave a new tapestry, one that includes the strands of both our worlds," I said, my declaration as firm as the earth beneath our feet. Halldor's gaze darted between us, the wheels of his mind turning with plans and plots. "We shall see what the elders make of this," he said, his voice a precursor of the challenges to come. With a final, lingering look, Halldor retreated into the night, leaving Elina and me alone once more. The moon above, now devoid of tears, shone down upon us, a silent sentinel to the love that refused to be dimmed. "We will face whatever comes together," Elina whispered, her words a vow that bound us tighter than any chain. And as we made our way back to our separate realms, the echo of our heart's harmony resonated through the woods, a melody of defiance and desire that would not be silenced by fear nor fate. The dance of our love had only just begun, and we would move to its rhythm, come what may. Chapter 6. A Heart-Rending Choice. The crisp air of the approaching dawn did little to quell the storm raging within me as I stood at the edge of the clearing, the place where the forest whispered secrets of a love both profound and perilous. The sky, painted in strokes of orange and pink, heralded a day of reckoning. Halldor's voice, carrying the weight of betrayal, had echoed through the longhouse, waking the sleeping embers of suspicion into a roaring blaze. "Leif!" Eli's voice broke through the tumult of my thoughts as she emerged from the sheltering embrace of the trees. Her sea-green eyes, usually so full of life, now mirrored the gravity of our situation. I turned to her, the lines of worry etched deeply into my features. "Halldor has cast his stones, Eli. The clan knows of us." She stepped forward, her grace undiminished by the looming threat. "Then we face them together," she said, her willpower a steel thread binding her words. The longhouse loomed before us, its sturdy timbers a silent testament to the generations of my kin who had sought refuge within its walls. It was here, among the familiar scent of wood smoke and the murmurs of my clansmen, that I would stand defiant, declaring my love for the siren who had captured my heart. As we entered, the eyes of the clan bore into us, a sea of judgment and curiosity. At the center stood Haldor, his posture that of a man who believed he had already won the battle. Leif, son of Eric, have you forsaken your blood for this creature? The chieftain's voice was a thunderclap, demanding an answer. I squared my shoulders, feeling Eli's presence at my side, a signpost of courage. She is no creature, but a being as worthy of respect as any within this hall. My heart belongs to Eli, and I will not renounce the love that fate has bestowed upon us. A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd, a wave of shock and awe that threatened to drown us in its wake. The chieftain's gaze hardened, his next words a blade poised at the very thread of our destiny. Then you must choose, Leif, your clan or the siren. The weight of his ultimatum hung heavy in the air, a choice that would cleave my life in two. But as I looked into Eli's eyes, I knew there was no choice to be made. Our bond, sealed by love and the tears of the moon, was unbreakable. My choice is made, I declared, my voice a steady drumbeat amidst the storm. I choose Eli, and whatever future that may bring. The silence that followed was a living thing, pulsing with the beat of countless hearts. Haldor stepped forward, his eyes alight with the flames of rivalry and scorn. You forsake your own for this doomed affection, he spat, the word doomed hanging between us like a curse. Eli's hand tightened in mine, a lifeline in the tempest of our making. Our love is not doomed, Haldor. It is the very essence of hope. As the clan began to murmur, shifting like the tides between support and dissent, a chill swept through the longhouse. The old seer, cloaked in shadows, stepped forth, her voice carrying the weight of prophecy. Beware, for the dark side of the prophecy unfurls. The siren's immortality is in peril, she intoned, her words a messenger of the trials to come. Eli's breath hitched, the gravity of the seer's warning a cold splash against the flame of our determination. Our love, a tapestry woven with threads of desire and destiny, now faced the shears of fate, ready to cut short the pattern we had only just begun to create. As we left the longhouse, the clan's eyes following our retreat, the emerging conflict of our love's dance was laid bare. The path before us was fraught with peril, yet it was a path we would navigate side by side. For the bond that tethered our hearts was more than a mere dalliance of desire. It was the very essence of our beings, a harmony that would not be silenced by fear or fate. And as the first rays of the morning sun crested the horizon, our shared willpower was as clear as the daybreak itself. We would face the darkness together, come what may. Chapter 7, The Silence of Separation. The world had never felt so vast, so void of warmth, as it did in the wrenching absence of Eli. The once comforting silence of the Nordic forests now echoed with the hollow ache of solitude, a stark reminder that Elina and I were worlds apart, separated by more than just distance. Each day that passed was a stone in the cold wall that fate had erected between us, and yet, with each stone laid, my determination to see her again only solidified. In the longhouse, the air hung heavy with the scent of pine and the low murmur of my kin, their voices a distant hum against the clamor of my own thoughts. I could almost hear her, her melodic voice weaving through the wooden beams, but when I turned, it was just the wind's whisper through the cracks. One evening, as the embers of the hearth fire glowed like dying stars, my friend Gunnar approached, his brow furrowed with concern. "Leif, you've been as silent as the grave. Speak, let your thoughts be known." I glanced at him, the familiar lines of his face offering a semblance of comfort. "My thoughts are with Eli," I replied, the weight of her name on my tongue. "My soul feels as barren as the winter fields without her." Gunnar sat beside me, the warmth from the fire doing little to thaw the chill in my words. "Then why do you not seek her out? Why let this frost settle in your heart?" "It is not by choice that we are kept apart," I said, staring into the flames, seeing visions of Eli's radiant smile. "There are forces at work, prophecies, and the fear of our kin that hold us bound." He nodded, understanding the depth of my struggle. "But even the fiercest storm eventually breaks, Leif. Hold fast to that." His words were a small comfort, a flicker of hope in the encroaching darkness. I knew he was right. The storm would pass, and I would find my way back to Elina. Meanwhile, in the hidden cove where the siren songs had once been a symphony of joy, Elina's voice now carried a plaintive note, a melody tinged with sorrow. Her sisters gathered, their faces etched with empathy, as they listened to the changing tide of her tunes. "Eli, your songs have grown mournful," one sister spoke, her voice as soft as the foam on the shore. Elina looked out across the water, her eyes reflecting the tumultuous sea. "My heart is heavy, sisters. The separation from Leif is a weight I had not known before." The sisters exchanged glances, the air around them shimmering with unspoken words. It was then that Elina felt the first stirrings of a new life within her, a revelation that she carried the future of both siren and human in her very being. With the discovery came a surge of strength, a single-mindedness that coursed through her veins like the mightiest current. She turned to her kin, her voice no longer a whisper of despair, but a clarion call of determination. "I carry more than just a yearning for Leif," she announced, her revelation as bright and shocking as lightning. "Within me grows the hope for our two worlds, a chance for unity and peace." The sisters gathered around her, their presence a circle of protection and awe. "Then we must prepare," they said as one, "for the child of both sea and land will need all of our strength, all of our love." Back in the village, I lay restless upon my bed, the furs providing little comfort against the gnawing longing that kept me awake. It was as if I could feel the very life that Elina now carried, a guidepost calling me back to her side. "Gunnar," I whispered into the darkness, my friend's silhouette barely visible in the dim light. "I must return to her. There is more at stake now than ever before." He rose, his movement steady and sure. "Then we will go, Leif. We will face this tempest together, as brothers." As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, I knew that the silence of our separation would soon be broken. Elina and I were bound by something stronger than any prophecy or fear, a love that had already begun to bridge the divide between our worlds. And with each passing day, our single-mindedness to reunite grew. As inexorable as the tide that ebbed and flowed along the shore, the longing that had once been a source of pain was now the fuel that drove us forward, a dance of desire that would lead us back into each other's arms. Chapter 8: The Siege of Fate. Dawn broke over the horizon like a shield splintering under the strike of an axe. My breath misted in the air as I, Leif, stood at the head of a small, resolute band of warriors and friends who had chosen to stand with me. The forest loomed, an ancient witness to the impending clash that would challenge the very laws that had kept Eli and me apart. Gunnar, his axe resting on his shoulder, glanced at me with a grim determination. "We are ready, Leif. Today we carve our destiny, not from whispers and shadows, but from the might of our will." I nodded, feeling the weight of the blade at my side and the even heavier weight of purpose in my heart. "For Eli, for our future," I said, my voice a low growl of resolve. The cove where the sirens dwelled was shrouded in a mist that seemed to rise from the very soul of the earth. As we advanced, the silence was shattered by the sound of our approach, the clash of metal and the battle cries of my kin echoing through the trees. Then, from the mist, emerged the figures of the Siren sisters, their ethereal forms both beautiful and foreboding. At their center stood Eli, her eyes alight with a fierce love that burned brighter than the rising sun. "Leif," she called out, her voice cutting through the din of the impending battle. The Siren sisters formed a protective circle around her, their songs rising in a crescendo that sought to push us back. But we pressed on, driven by the force of our shared dream. As the two sides met, the clash of steel against the supernatural power of the sirens filled the air. It was a symphony of chaos, a dance of desperation that would determine the fate of two worlds. Eli, her hair a cascade of pearlescent waves, broke from the circle of her kin and rushed towards me. Together, Leif, we are stronger than any law, any enemy. Our hands met, and in that instant, a surge of power, born from the depth of our bond, radiated outward. The tide of battle shifted, the will of our love manifesting in a force that neither Viking nor siren could have anticipated. Around us, the clash continued, but with our hands clasped, a cocoon of calm enveloped us. We turned, facing our foes, our love a banner under which we fought. "The prophecy," Eli breathed, her eyes reflecting the storm of combat around us. "Our child will be the bridge, the end of this strife." I felt a swell of hope, a warning signal in the tumult. Then we stand firm, for our child, for our people. The battle raged, but with each passing moment it became clear that the love between Eli and me was a force that could not be quelled. We moved as one, a dance of desire and determination that defied the very siege of fate. As the sun climbed higher, casting its light upon us, our enemies began to falter, the truth of the prophecy shining like a sword of clarity through their doubts and fears. Finally, as the last of the resistance melted away, the sirens ceased their songs, and my Viking kin lowered their weapons. The cove was silent once more, the only sound the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore. Eli and I, standing amidst the aftermath, knew that this was not just a victory, but a promise of a future where siren and human could live in harmony. The prophecy had unfolded, and with it, the promise of a new era, one born from the love that had weathered the siege of fate. As we turned to face our combined peoples, it was with the knowledge that our dance of desire had woven a destiny not just for us, but for all who would come after. Our child, the embodiment of our love, would be the legacy of our courage, the bridge between two worlds that had once been divided by fear and misunderstanding. And in that moment, as we looked upon the faces of friend and former foe alike, we understood that the truest victory lay in the hearts we had united and the peace we had forged. Chapter 9, Serenade of the Unseen Lovers. Under the canopy of a lavender twilight, the village and cove alike were alive with the sound of preparation and expectation. The air hummed with a melody of anticipation for the celebration that would mark the dawn of a new era, the union of Eli and me, and the acceptance of our future lineage. As I walked through the village, the faces of my kin, once etched with doubt and suspicion, now bore smiles and nods of respect. The longhouse, with its mighty timbers and thatched roof, stood as the heart of the festivities, adorned with garlands of wildflowers and the warm glow of torchlight. Gunnar clapped a hand on my shoulder, his eyes bright with mirth. "Leif, my friend, you've done what none could have dreamt. You've united us, sirens and Vikings alike." I offered him a grin, the shared memories of our trials igniting a spark of pride within me. "It wasn't I alone, Gunnar. It was the strength of our love, Eli's and mine, that turned the tide." He laughed, the sound echoing heartily against the wooden walls. "Aye, and what a mighty strength it is. Come now, they're waiting for us by the shore." The cove was a spectacle of lights, with lanterns swaying gently in the sea breeze, and the moon casting a silvery sheen over the water. The sirens, their forms aglow with ethereal light, mingled with the villagers, their voices blending in a chorus of unity. Eli stood at the water's edge, her pearlescent hair reflecting the moonlight, a vision of serenity. As I approached, her song rose above the festivities, a serenade that carried the weight of our journey and the whispers of hope and change. "Leif," she called, her voice reaching me over the symphony of celebration. I hastened to her side, the pebbles of the beach shifting beneath my boots. "Eli," I returned her call, standing before her, the embodiment of our shared dream. Her sisters encircled us, their songs weaving a tapestry of sound that seemed to bless the union. Tonight we celebrate not just a joining of hearts, but the birth of a future where our peoples will no longer live as unseen lovers, hidden in the shadows, one sister proclaimed, her voice resonant with joy. The villagers, my kin, raised their cups and cheered, their voices a robust affirmation of the sisters' words. To Leif and Eli, they toasted, and the sound of my name intertwined with hers was a balm to any lingering uncertainty. Eli took my hands, her gaze locked with mine. "We stand here as proof that love can triumph, that it can bridge any divide, and it is love that will guide us as we raise our child, the heir to both land and sea," I added, my voice steady with the weight of the promise. A hush fell upon the gathering, as if the very stars themselves were leaning closer to hear the vows we would exchange. "I vow to honor our love, to cherish the peace it has brought, and to nurture the hope it has ignited," Eli said, her words a gentle caress upon the hearts of all who listened. "And I vow to uphold the unity we have forged, to protect our family, and to lead with the wisdom that our love has taught me," I declared, my pledge a solemn oath to the future we would build together. As the celebration continued into the night, the echoes of Eli's serenade filled the air, a lullaby for the world we would create. The cost to our kin and kind had been great, but the victory of our love shone brighter than any sacrifice. It was a serenade that would be sung for generations to come, a tale of unseen lovers who danced the dance of desire and emerged hand in hand, victorious and resolute in the face of destiny. The end. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed Serenade of the Unseen Lovers. Please smash that like button, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily storytelling adventures.